Ladies and gentlemen, the 29th of September 2016, on the 27th of September, I turned 42. I'm winding up my social media activity, taking a break for a while. This is a recording aiming at presenting the Noble Kingdom of Agnipolitania, the Agnipolitanian Academy, the PR Lab. It is the second part. My name is Agnieszka Rojek. Originally, I was born in Krakow on the 27th of September 1974. I have already covered most of the things I am going to cover today, but let me go through the main concepts quickly. I mean to remind you what I was talking about in the previous recording. So the PR lab, generally we have branches: brand, communications, investigations, foreign affairs, and preventing and counteracting incapacitation. As far as brand is concerned, we have definition and development. I will cover development later on. Right now, let me give you the ideas connected with the definition. So the ingredients of the brand. It is a queendom. It is a noble queendom that protects, that promotes such virtues as honor, truth, and justice, and virginity. Virginity implies pure intention, lack of corruption, this metaphorical sense as well. White magic. It is a spiritual queendom. I believe in God and the extraterrestrial existence. I believe the extraterrestrials are spiritual beings too. We acknowledge and actually look into mysticism. It is a very important ingredient, and I will elaborate on it later on too. The country. The country is ruled by me, Agnieszka Justycja I. I am the founder. I am the protectress of the pure value. Even if I have protectors, Agnipolitania has protectors that have nothing to do with sex. Agnipolitania is protected because it is a wonderful, beautiful value. It is a gift to human. It is a gift to humankind. And I have a spiritual army that is beyond the planet Earth. Believe it or not, you will learn. I am the noble queen. I am the guardianess of truth and justice, Agnieszka Justycja I, the magnificent, the magnanimous. Apart from me, there's the council of sages, that is the people who have wisdom, knowledge, and law, the ancient law. I seek counsel from them, and they are very, very important. There is folk. Folk is different from the mob. Down with the mob, long live the folk. The folk respects the rules of the noble kingdom of Agnipolitania, does not violate the code of conduct and morals, and does not damage values that the noble kingdom protects and develops. The folk is consulted, can make suggestions, can have their contribution to the queendom. The capital of the queendom, the original point from which it has developed into the noble kingdom of Agnipolitania, is Agnipolis. That is the royal city, the royal capital, named after me, my polis. It connects with the with the Agni of India, of course. Agnipolis is the center of such areas of activity as the law, politics, economy, diplomacy, science, fine arts, theater, literature, education, and languages, that is, learn foreign languages and other languages, and also planet Earth is our interest. As for communications, it is basically about providing true data. That is, there are no other communications in the Nobel window of Agnipolitanian. Unless we are creating a fiction, but even then it is true that because this is the true fiction we are creating, but that is a different one. We are going to have our own mythology, our own fairy tales, our own legends, obviously. The true data has 5 compartments, that is information, education, promotion, fights, and contact. Sadly enough, so far I have spent most time involved in the fights that have been due to the wars that have been being waged against me. The way I was fighting is through information and through education. I have not invaded anyone's personal space, so this war shows two sides as totally different qualities and moral different morality. Investigations are very important for the PR lab, obviously, because it is about our survival. It has to do with preventing and counteracting incapacitation, and it is important that when we are dealing with on the one hand, but on the other hand with the development, because this is investigations research actually. So it is important how we define our data in investigations or research. We have to do with quality and analysis. As for quality, it must be correct, it must be sufficient, it must be complete, it must be important and valid. Valid differs from important in the, like we have a valid passport, so it is up to date. It is not for date. And now analysis. It is still the truth, in other words. The truth, in other words. Analysis. We have interpretations and conclusions. So let's suppose we have correct data, but an incorrect interpretation. This is one option. This is one way in which we can add. Another one is we have correct data and we have the correct interpretation of the data. However, we have incorrect conclusions. Again, we go into an error. Foreign affairs, and actually I will develop the foreign affairs as I have spoken about them because some ideas have been surfacing as I was having a coffee with my mom. But generally, what I have here is identity, dignity, honor, goal, definition, language, pragmatics and symbols, extraterrestrial diversion, gratitude, and issues. Oh, I have forgotten to check the name of the word, but I mean the word that is celebrated in Russia and has very negative connotations. Actually, it had very negative consequences for Poland. However, these are complex phenomena. So I put those two issues and gratitudes in one pack, so to say. For example, if we have the situation in Russia, it is important because it actually is true for all totalitarian systems. It also, there's my situation in Poland nowadays, because I claim that Poland has become a totalitarian state, and I am a victim of this state. Probably the first one of that caliber. Because I'm totally innocent, so you cannot have a more clear example of a victim of the totalitarian system than my case. We have issues and gratitudes. So, for example, there are gratitudes to the soldiers who devoted their life to who were patriots, so they were following orders. and they were risking their life. Perhaps they even sacrificed their life for their motherland. So there are gratitudes and there are issues. Well, but the war you were carrying out was criminal. So actually, I'm talking about Stalinism. So actually, I should despise you. But on the other hand, I cannot despise you because I owe you the gratitude for having been there for the Russia, whatever the Russia was at that time. So these are very complex issues, and I believe that we keep on forgetting about the gratitudes when we're trying to solve the real problem of the totalitarian systems. So this is this juxtaposition of this is an order, and what is the ethical situation of the person getting the order? Someone had the order to torture me. Torture is illegal, but they have been torturing me. So what do we do with it? Obviously, we need to punish the person who gave the order in the first place. Identity. For example, Tibet. It is about the Tibetan identity. The modern China might be routing money into certain areas of Tibet, but they are killing the identity. And the same concerns Americans in Pakistan. And this is really the assessment many Pakistanis have of the American presence in their country, which is why we are still in danger of the Talibs winning the democratic election one day. Dignity. Dignity is the battlefield on which the war having been going on in my life has been taking place. So this is about the conflict between the virgin, me, and the whore, her. And the war has been very, very tricky. However, these were the virgins that were attacked by the left-wing tyranny, not the other way around. Honor. The point that I wanted to add is that actually we need to define honor, and we need to, I think it is most important that if we have this area of conflict, it is absolutely necessary to define the honor. Because for me, it's totally outrageous if you tell me that someone honored me because they gave me access to a penis. No, you have not honored me, you have insulted me, you have insulted me beyond the possibility of further communication. Goal definition. So it is important to define what our relations are supposed to be. I've been trying to achieve this purpose with Rihanna, who has been stamped onto my heart forcefully. So she entered my life, and before I had seen that she had put me into her recording, Bitch Better Have My Money. So obviously the war between me and Rihanna had been being created before this stamp on the heart. I mean, you know, that I believe the expected response was my going into a complete hatred fight with her. After all, she had turned me, I mean, you know, the role she gave me in the video clip was that of a whore. And this is suable, and I will sue it, of course. However, especially because of the development of the situation. I had no idea that I had been given that sort of PR, that there had been information going into files all over the world about my life, about me or my mom being a prostitute. This is just unthinkable. We have never had anything to do with prostitution at all. We don't. This has nothing to do with our life. My mom is a typical household, like this hen, except that she has one child. But she's for family. She would never ever think of being no. She's not a lover. She's a wife. So she has a totally different mentality. She's full of sacrifice for her mother and sister. This is a completely different identity. Not to mention me, where I'm paying for my tolerance actually. So the lesson I am learning is that I should have never ever acknowledged your right to be my friend. So, and this is your attempts at humiliating me. This has to do with dignity. Result in my response to you. You are far below me. And I'm telling you this because you have proved it by trying to humiliate me, by degrading me, saying lies about me, by connecting to me people who have nothing to do with me, by destroying the life I had been living for years, the life I had been working for, the life I had been investing in, all my assets, all my resources. So this is very difficult. And when Rihanna appeared in my life, I was trying to define this relationship. Okay, so you are the whore, I am the virgin. I mean, she is the whore. She is the archetypal whore. And all celebrities are whores, actually. So, this is not like Rihanna is a whore and someone else is not. No, they're doing exactly the same thing. You have been PRized otherwise, but you're doing the same thing. Well, perhaps less, and perhaps you have a different sexual slant, but from my perspective, if I am the virgin waiting for my husband, the one and the only man, and I will never have a sexual intercourse with a man who could not be the father of my children, then have the perspective. So I was working hard on redefining it, on taking it to this area where I can actually appreciate her. So her fight for the race equality, which is a noble fight. And there's a person, a black person, who does not get involved in that fight, just remains nice, and the Olakicha type is that she does not risk anything because she is in the mainstream. But Rihanna is a rebel. So when she starts fighting for the rights, obviously she will have the counteraction. She will have the people trying to destroy her. And she did take the stand, because I was really, whatever Rihanna says will be read by a huge number of people. I mean, perhaps not whatever, but if she makes a statement about race, about discrimination of black women, or black people in general, I don't know, then obviously she becomes a target. So I thought, okay, this is absolutely the ground on which I can support her, and fine, in that sense I can support her even that, okay, so this prostitute is black, and the woman, she is paying out, is a typical right-wing white. So fine, for the purpose of making this point of equality between the black woman and the white woman, and the woman who is not that rich and the woman who is stinking rich, I can support her. But I don't want to become a horror and be merged with her for the rest of my life. For goodness sake, I have my life, and I have better perspectives than all the people I know. To be honest, now not because what you have done to me. Obviously, I'm an invalid. So, whatever is happening is temporary, unless I get, I don't know what, but some unless the extraterrestrials come to the planet Earth and will teach some people some lessons. They seem to really need them. I emphasize, I am an innocent person who had been a friend to everyone. You have been persecuting me. You have been torturing me. You have been creating a lynch for no fault of mine. I'm blameless. I'm spotless. So, I gave you this idea. So let's have this goal, Rihanna. Let's have this goal. You are a black woman. I'm a white woman. And I do believe it is not a creation. This is my way of life. I don't have if you read a book by Mikhail Kaku, the scientist, he's yellow. The Japanese, I think he's Japanese or Chinese. I don't want to, because it would be probably an insult if I confuse the Chinese with the Japanese, considering their conflicts. So I say, I read this book. His book actually. Well, you have an obvious superiority of the yellow race. He's a racist. And the book is not dealing with human rights at all. It is a book on science. It is genetics. Of course, I don't want to say that he is, but this is a change of perspective. So, one day someone black can, okay, so let me write my book on race equality. Well, let's see, what do I have that the whites don't have? And there's more to it than just sex, because you have been, I think you're creating a devastating brand for your race. Not you personally, but generally. Okay, you have the rhythm. This is wonderful. This is something I love, because this is something I can feel and enjoy and love it in the sense of dance or speech, or perhaps a lot of comes out of it, poetry. You have a lot. You are a superpower in the sense of vivacity, and to take it all into this one idea of the blacks being devastatingly sexually attractive is a complete misbranding. Well, some of us are totally attractive, and this is wonderful because there are so many people on the planet who love this. Fine. So I say, I can support those issues because I really believe in it. That, this is, you have this attire, so to say, living in these conditions. So I was trying to redefine this relationship, but no, all the time you're about sex. Because obviously, if you give me that sort of abuse, you keep on creating the wall. And another goal, this is actually the goal we're fighting for, and this is what I thought. And then I emphasize this idea of because people, this is really an enormous, powerful fight for the environment, actually, because the Boko Haram men can tell you, I don't want your civilization. I want my stream to be clean. I want fish in that water and not industrial waste. I don't give a shit about your money. And this is really a powerful movement that can be made. I mean, let us not be that extreme, but, this is the extreme that comes from the extreme force you use to make the people whom they are not. And this is an identity issue. I don't know if you understand me. I hope you can. Now, language, pragmatics and symbols. As for pragmatics, I was to add something, but I forgot what I wanted to add. I can see that they have been changing something in my space again. So to make this point, they gave me this space, and now they are going to change it a little bit, have some, some excrements coming up. Anyway, let me continue my speech. Pragmatics. Pragmatics basically deals with, because I did not make this point clear, so I need to take it up again. You say something, and apart from the literal meaning of what you are saying, this is a speech act. So every time you say something, what was it? So someone wanted to tell me that they are going to kill me? Perhaps. Whatever you say is a speech act, which means that it is an action. And it can mean exactly what you say, or it can be said to achieve some other purpose. So this is pragmatics. You say it to achieve some purpose, and this can be exactly the same if you speak what you mean, which is my case normally, or it can be different. There can be some extras, like, when I made this recording in 6 languages, the people said, oh, okay, so now Agnieszka is going to boast a bit. I admit, I wanted to make the point that I was actually making a huge sacrifice of devoting my time that I could have been investing in myself to your children. Yes, this is the point I wanted to make. But first and foremost, it was this gesture, this sign of goodwill that I'm coming forward, speaking this language that is your language, not mine, to achieve some communication, some understanding. And this is exactly what I did when I drew my cartoon. I had been abused by the left wing. Well, I was abused by the right wing too, I know. President Duda was probably taking part in that project of masturbating Agnieszka Rojek, and I believe there was a schedule. So today I'm going to be masturbated by this person, next day by this person, next day by this person. The whole project of turning the virgin Agnieszka Rojek into a whore. So this is what's been going on in Poland. What was it? 2012? Make him swear to the Bible that he was not. I drew this cartoon, the EU cartoon, in that context. And by the way, when the previous cartoon that had to do with sequence had nothing to do with rape at all. It had to do with compulsion. So this is the situation, the battlefield dignity, the war that was declared by Alexandra Kicza, actually, via Alexandra Kicza, perhaps by someone else, perhaps by Eva Vanat from Radio.fm. I think it is very, very probable. So, she says, it is a shame, it is a disgrace to be a virgin at the age of 20. So, being a virgin is a shame. I mean, a shame in the sense of, oh, you are losing the chance to have all those beautiful experiences that connect with intimacy, well, now I'm losing it, indeed, because you have deprived me of my privacy. So, you know, even if I get together with my Mr. Right, I might never have a chance to actually be with him, because you are with us all the time. And but this is one thing. But then this is not a shame in that sense. It is a disgrace. So it is a disgrace that I'm a virgin. My God, I'm 42. What a disgrace. No, it is not a disgrace. It is I'm an honorable lady. You are a disgrace. And this is, you know, the opening of the war. Now, the way in which she said it originally had not that meaning. She was saying it in a particular situation. But you must know that I'm not a person who responds with a war to some line said in the kitchen. I have checked with her. And I also asked her, I seriously, I think this is not you. And she said, no, this is me. This is really me. Concerning her sex relationship with the stripteaser that had no love to it. Just sex, pure sex. And she never withdrew from the statement that being a virgin at a certain age is a disgrace. And this is, so you know, so I say, well, sex without love is horseshit. So if you have sex without love, you are a whore. Excuse me, I am the virgin. And this is, I mean, you know, before I had been talking about different lifestyles, but you have redefined it. Because if you say that my life, which is honorable, which is superior to yours, because it requires self-control, it requires, I mean, you know, I'm not getting the benefits you're getting. If you say that my life is a disgrace, then I'm telling you, well, yours is. And I'm using the language adequate enough to answer the huge disgrace that your statement is. This is the situation in which we had been immersed by the time I drew my cartoon, and I drew it in response to the cabaret, you know, the prime time cabaret on TV, broadcast all over the world, because this is a national channel. TVP, TVP2, and 8 o'clock, you know, Sunday. And what do they do to the sacred? They create the picture of the Virgin on her knees, completely drunk. She's not on her knees because she is kneeling in whatever gesture. She's on her knees because she cannot walk away, correct? She's too drunk. And this is the image of the Virgin. At one point she says, well, you know, Mr. whatever his name was, I'm a virgin. And I'm supposed, as the audience, I mean, as the public, as the person watching the TV, to be grateful that they did not start laughing and that they did not do anything. Oh my God, she's a virgin. What a disgrace. So, excuse me, but these are not the times that are going to be acknowledged ever. This is a declaration of war. This is not a peace movement. This is not a peace move. So I responded. I mean, you know, I was shaking after watching this cabaret. And I drew, and you know, at the end of the cabaret, there were two girls. One of them looked like Natalia Świderska, one of them looked like Alexandra Kicza. So my former pupils. At the time, I was not certain whether these were the girls, women now, then, or not. It might have been an impression imposed on some other women, but now I think it's quite possible. And you know, the Ola Kicha one had them, you know, with the feathers, like an Afro, like the American Indian. So you know, so this is the chieftain, right? The chieftainess. My God, Ola indeed was spreading love, real love. What a heart! Um, and you might not agree with me, you might agree with her. Now I have understood, you know, I expected support from the celebrities because of the way I had been treating my pupils. I had been very supportive for them. But okay, they have gone into this politics, playing politics, lying, fine. But you know, at the time, I had every right to expect that my pupils would be like a wall that you cannot move because of the attitude I had to them. I had to them, and all the effort I had taken to invest in them, to boost their self-confidence, to make sure each and every day of our common work takes them to knowing I can do it by actual achievement, not by, you know, patting someone on his back, by actual achievement. So you know, the cartoon was the language of the aggressor. And the same concerns the cabaret I wrote up in the wake of watching Kuba Wojewódzki's program. And the cabaret, the text, I don't know, perhaps you had it. It's very difficult to translate the text, to be honest. No, but the pathetic woman, young, was me. I am young. I know that you have a problem with it because you want to think of me as an old man or a spinster. I am young. I am younger than you are. For me, you know, when I look at my former pupils, they are, you know, old. Okay, maybe not that, but you know that they're. I mean, you know, you can be a housewife and you can be serious. Well, my mom is quite old. I mean, well, perhaps not, but she's much older than me as a spirit, not as a person, but as a spirit. I'm a young spirit. It has nothing to do with maturity because I'm far more mature than you are. You thinking yourself, you know. So I'm a young spirit, and I was pathetic. This is, you know, you when you study philology, you learn certain functions of language and literary forms. One of them is you being part of the narrative that you write, but you look at yourself with other person's eyes, and this is irony. And actually, it might seem like, you know, I'm, what do you do when you beat someone? Self-flagellation or something, a similar concept. This is the Middle Ages concept of inflicting torture on yourself. But this is not, because when I tell you how you look at me, it is you who becomes, you know, And you had been doing this to me, the things that I described. Another case of pragmatics, it has just gone out of my mind, but there was another example when I used the language, there was the cartoon. Oh, okay. You know, the Picasso baby by Jay-Z seemed to me thoroughly offensive to this elderly. I mean, you know, the woman was supposed to be elderly in that crowd. I mean, you know, from what I know of my pupils, that's how I understood it. That basically it was, you humiliated this woman. And I believe that she was me. That, that, that was the point you were making, because, you know, I called this cartoon Guernica. And so you picked it up. So I assumed that you were very intelligent. I mean, you know, this kind of, because I know that in Volbron, I know that there were some pupils who were playing truant, but they did some reading on their own. So you have a pupil who does not do too well at school in the sense of having the results or meeting the expectations, but they, you know, they can be very intelligent, they can be very well read. So I assumed that you were that kind of person, as you picked up this motif of the Picasso baby. And so I took all this effort, you know, to establish a communication line. I did not insult you in any way because I don't know where you come from. And you can come from all sorts of backgrounds, considering the situation of Black people in the United States. And, you know, I had, for a while I was staying at my brother's and I would work in Bridgeport. So I don't know. I don't know Bronx, but I had some insights into Bridgeport. And I felt safe there. So my relationship with Black people before Alexandra Teacher had been very, very good. You know, right now I don't feel safe in my own flat. Then I was walking Bridgeport and I felt completely safe. And there was a situation even when there was some, I know, robbery in a shop, and I saw the policeman throwing the person. I don't know right now if the person was white or black, but you know, this is just the people living there, and throwing him on the car and taking, you know, his hands, and I felt like going there immediately to respond, to do something, because you know, this is this idea I had been under the influence of Dangerous Minds. This was the most appealing of all those movies. Perhaps it's because of the actress, it might be. But then, oh my God, she's going to kill me. Whatever I say, but she made me, but she, I mean the Mona Lisa smile. But no, this is actually funny because I always have some fun about her, but I really like her and appreciate her. Anyway, yeah, I have a special talent for fun. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, from the perspective of time, I love Mona Lisa smile. But so perhaps the reason was different. Perhaps the reason is that my mom had not been to region. I had always had this special sentiment, this belief that if I do something for people, that this changes the situation of all of them overall. So this was my main motivation, I believe, and the affinity. But my dad, my grandma was doing very well before the war, but then you know there was a war, so people went to prison, and finally I arrived at the conclusion that I might be Jewish, that I might have Jewish genes actually. Well, I have the Romani ones too, so I'm a mongrel. Anyway, um, so you know I took this effort and created, as MC Hammer, obviously, because I remembered him from my primary school, and washed this to get into this black rhythm, and generally to have it, and to have the rhythm, not to have the sex, and because my sex is very sublime, and it has nothing, or no oral sex at all. and then I wrote the lyrics, and I was practicing it. So I had this attitude of okay, this boy. I mean, I admit it. I treat most of the celebrities, especially when they are younger, as I was treating my pupils. I mean, I do have this attitude. Perhaps this is not. Perhaps you don't like it, but from my perspective, it is so. I mean, if you have the celebrity who becomes a lawyer, then I might treat her differently. But if you are only a celebrity, a singer, this is a big. But this also gives you the idea of my peers, actually. So this is like you look at them, and if I see my pupil in a celebrity, it means that I must have seen a possible celebrity in my pupil, because this is how it works. This is in your brain. This is beyond. When you make the computation, you start realizing it, but this happens spontaneously. So they have built a huge lie, and probably this is because they are horse. Said Ina. So celebrities might be, and what did I get in response? You destroyed my life. So I have taken all those steps. I have given you the honor, the real honor, because what do I care about some Jay-Z? Tell me. Jay-Z. Especially that he had offended me. But anyway, this is Agnipolitania. This is what we are trying to attempt. Because why am I to be enemies with some Jay-Z? Explain it to me. Why? Give me one reason why I am to be enemies with Jay-Z. Well, of course, perhaps you did not understand the song. The song I mentioned, Joan of Arc and the Ram, because Joan of Arc, she's a huge heroine in France. She was a virgin. She was the maid, the holy maid. She was the leader. She was an extremely powerful woman, thanks to her virginity, thanks to the high ideas she had. And this is France. So, it is quite impossible for France to reject all virgins, because then France stops existing as it is. And Joan of Arc did crown the king. That is, thanks to her, the king was crowned in Rome. Now, you might have a point, because I did say Rome indeed, as a metaphor, as a sort of metonymy. So, past pro total, a part for a total. So, that this Rome stood for the situation where this virginal woman born in some village, getting the light inspiration from God, so getting this special role, leads the nation, and actually France gets more powerful than it had been before Joan of Arc took the lead. So this was what, and she does it without giving him oral sex. So that was the point. Well, actually, Agnieszka Roik, you're not an expert in history, so you cannot be certain if the Joan of Arc did not suck his penis in bath. Perhaps she did. So I may withdraw from it. It's a historic question. That means a question of great importance. Historical is connected with history. Historic means of great importance. Enough. I hope it is clear. The text was ironic. And it asked the question, because what I felt was that JZ was promoting a rape. So, you know, you have those women like Rihanna who probably don't have to light a life, don't have too much peace and quiet, but they survive and they get huge money for it. So, you know, I don't. So why should I be matched with Rihanna or Lina or Selena? I'm at home, I'm a private person. It doesn't mean that I cannot write a message to one of them, and I have never done. I only posted some things on my Twitter wall. But you know, they survive. How about the girls in the slums for whom you are an idol? Imagine one of them being your sister. Well, perhaps you hate your sister. So maybe there was some girl that you actually loved. Extraterrestrial interventions. I do believe that we are heading for an extraterrestrial intervention in the wake of what you have done to me. Symbols. Let me discuss the Agnipolitanian symbols. I decided that it was important to do it after all. So the symbols are the original icon, Agnieszka the Just, the Son of Africa, the unicorn, the road, life in the desert, the eye of the horse, the candle, moon in the sky, the rose, checkboard, the alien figure, little round table, my little round table beyond the flaming ramparts of the heavens. So the first original icon is the picture I drew, and I have a sense that oral sex was superimposed on it. So someone was doing some black magic to it, I believe. It has nothing to do, or the Assangists put it into. It has nothing to do with oral sex at all. It connects with a cosmic existence. I mean, there's a planet there. Actually, there are two planets. The other one is there. I don't know how it happened. It's accidental because it was not my intention. My intention was to draw one planet. And this planet and the other planet symbolize overall the universe in movement. There's a lot of movement in the icon, but there's also balance. You know, obviously planets are in the movement, and there's me. So you know, this icon has this stabilizing effect on me because there's, you know, this is stability. This is real stability. If you that has been captured in relation to the universe, where you have all those planets in movement all the time. I'm still the center that does not move. There are fresh tree leaves in my hair, which connect with nature. Nature in the sense of environment, natural habitats, ancient law, simple life. It is about harmony. There is the crown that is not typical. The crown is to unite the vast space beyond with the earth. So this is the connection with extraterrestrial worlds through the very shape. There are earthy stones like rubies and emeralds, and these are actually, they were chosen by my dad because these are the, I mean, one is the one with the ruby is his, and I got it from him, and the other one with the emerald is what he bought for me. There's grayish white platinum. I mean, it's not necessarily platinum, but it makes me think of platinum in the crown. And there's the glittering black that I don't know yet. And these are not diamonds. It has to do with something there out there in the vast space. So this is like, you know, you have a glimpse into some other space, but you don't know what it is yet. And this is okay if you don't know what it is yet. The Son of Africa is the icon that I created after. I mean, I was taking pictures after I was approached by a gypsy woman who might have been a prostitute actually, but I had never thought of it. She was an elderly lady, and she was already quite that there was a lot of wearing of life on her face, so to say. And she approached me in the post office and immersed me in her space. From the perspective of time, I'm not certain if she was not trying to do harm to me, but then, because you know, I had already, I mean, as a child, I had a problem with a gypsy woman who actually cursed me just because I didn't want her to read my hand, and it was just unthinkable. And I think that my mom was protecting me then, and the curse went to to my mom. But so you know, so this is, I have a lot of reservations about gypsies. But then when I saw her then, when she approached me, then I thought that she was taking her farewell. She was saying farewell because she was to move out from the area. And I also thought that she wanted to give me the gift of seeing. So this is how I understood it. Especially that she was the one who stopped me once when I was looking the street when John Paul II was in Poland. And she asked me then if I was going to the mass, to the Holy Mass. To the Holy Mass. So she seemed to be a messenger. And on that very day, in the evening, as I was taking the pictures, they were very gypsy. So you know, I did have a that she had given me that gift. And this is also about the style. So this is an enormous culture. As I said at one point that perhaps Jews are hated because all of them have the royal gene in them. And then I thought that, well, I'm not certain if the same cannot be said about Romanians, except that they go back to India. And then I thought that, well, perhaps all of us do have this gene, in fact. The pictures I was taking then were very simple. I mean, there was this dirt in the space, but on the other hand, there was this quality that perhaps it can be somehow, you know, when you take the dirt off and get the quality, you might develop real beauty. And I did have a sense that I got glimpses of her as a young woman in those pictures. However, the point I want to make is that on that day in the evening, there was a huge storm. And one of the events was the crane that was outside, in front of my block. I could see through the window. It was moving because the wind was very strong. And I was wondering what would happen if it fell down, if it would actually hit my flat, and what would happen to the flat if it would destroy it. And I did ask this question, which should remind you of the crane that fell down to destroy the Muslim temple in Saudi Arabia. I thought that it had a connection with Osama bin Laden. And it was on the day when I was writing up my map dealing with the problem of refugees. So you know, this is the life I'm living, and it has nothing to do with prostitution. Trust me. And this is one of the things that was happening then. Another was the message that came on the screen of my computer, and it said that Nelson Mandela had died. So I took the candle holder, the light holder, and I started taking pictures, but I could not use my camera at the time. Something happened to it. And I used the laptop. So the pictures were difficult to post, just like, you know, this is a light I'm having here for Nelson Mandela. And I had to edit it. And the funny thing that happened as I was editing it was that it actually turned into the sun of Africa. So this is where the icon originates. This is the sun of Africa. But what happened to it, apart from that, is that the sun and moon became one with the candlelight. So this is really beautiful. And this is my uncle in Africa. And then we have the unicorn, which is a drawing I made. He's very youthful because I am very youthful. Or it can, yeah, I think it is a companion. But I am you know, he's my companion, means that I have the qualities too. Very young spirit, he has the healing powers. And he is my emanation, actually. Originally white, because, you know, I drew it, so this comes spiritually from me. This is a creation of my word, okay? Because, you know, as I told you, I want to have fairy tales, I want to have legends. The Agnipolitanian is going to have its own chronicle, our own, my own, I mean, her own chronicle, because Agnipolitania is she, of course. So this is my emanation, but it's also a reflection and constant creation, by which I mean that I use this unicorn when, you know, when I still believed in the law and justice. But Ashidwo said, let us do something for children. So what I thought of was thinking of this unicorn, and I started filling it with different colors. So, you know, some of them were like, I gave him pink corn, or blue corn, or I made this, you know, like the different face and different and color of the, you know, hair, so to say. I mean, she's a real beauty. So one of them is Indian. I used the Indian one for the coverage of my of the presentation of my teaching of my lessons, my favorite lessons, generally my teaching style, up to 2009, which I had to delete because of because I did not have enough space on my Vimeo profiles. So this is the Amerindians, you know. And another one is the black one, and it's very beautiful too. So this is what then our relations got into damage because well, Selena, we'll understand why when the case got to when there's an investigation and they get to the level when they really want to do an investigation and not something else. The unicorn comes from my inner joy. It's a loving creature. So, you know, this is me before the catastrophe, before the war, before 2009, perhaps before 2008, because it is at 2009 when the programs really started. It has healing powers, as I said, white magic, even if it has the black attire, peaceful, uncorrupted, unspoiled. This is the most important ingredient of the symbol. A life in the desert. Living in the desert has to do. This is the little bug, you know, the insect. It has to do with my walking, and it connects with Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist, which had been the book formed my life for a very long time. At one point, I started thinking that perhaps it was not a good leader for me. But I do believe that as far as I mean Paulo Coelho, but as far as the alchemist goes, I mean not a leader in the sense of leading me, but you know the connection. Um, but I believe that the alchemist is more, just like you know the Magnificent Century, the series is more than the people creating it. So I believe the alchemist is more than the writer who wrote it, because it touches upon those ritualistic symbols, and not only ritualistic but general symbols. So life in the desert, it's I'm walking with my camera and taking pictures. And at one point, I just had a sense of taking the picture of this flower there. And I did. And it was only at home when I looked at the screen that I saw that there was the bug there. And you know, I connected it with the question that is asked in The Alchemist. Can you find life in the desert? Otherwise, I also thought that insects were great carriers of information because you know they can go everywhere actually, and they are all over the world. The idea of insects as some trans planetary connection surfaced recently. So this would be another element here. I can give you an example. Some time ago, you know, still when I was teaching in the school in Volbron, one day there's the spider that has a cross on it, like you know. And one day when I was on my bed, I could see that it was going on my carpet. That gave me a funny feeling, but you know, I had this idea of spider that I'm going to discuss. Oh, actually, it's not here. How come it's not here? That's symbolic, or maybe it's somewhere. Well, anyway, this is a symbol in my life anyway. So let me just mention. So you know, I had this meeting. Oh, it's in symbolism. Okay, it's fine. Anyway, generally, a guru, a certain, not a guru, a certain future teller, a reader, told me that spiders were the best architects of the world because the webs were perfect. So I don't have this scared because he gave me this idea that when a spider comes into your life, creativity comes. And also when I was a little child, I was creating those nests. I mean, just one nest, but you know, in the middle of the road. So I don't have it. But you know, if he's like that big, fat, then it makes you feel funny. And it was, I don't know, 2014. or 2013. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, there was one at the entry to my balcony. There was a well, and I took the picture of it, at the door. And when I started editing it, there was white and black and a lot of blood. So that was quite scary. But the spider seems to be a protector, shockingly enough. The road. The road is one of the first pictures I took, actually. When I started taking picture in 2013, this is the very first series of the pictures I took. Well, I took some pictures in the secondary school with my Canon camera when I was in the USA. So the style actually goes back, this perspective. And I did post those pictures from England in my Facebook. So, and I paid for getting the copies. So it is really illegal when you block my Facebook sites, and not to mention you're deleting my emails where I had where I had the pictures stored. You have caused a financial loss to me. I mean, this is just a simple one, but it's obvious. So, the first series, March 2013, The Road in snow. It symbolizes with traveling, obviously, but there's a turning and you don't see what's beyond the curve. There's a curve and you don't know what's beyond. And it connects with the philosophy of life I had that, I have had some friends who would speak of suicide or were fed up of life or were depressed, and I would always say, well, you have to travel on because you don't know what's behind the next corner. So it might be that, you resign now, and as long as you turn the other corner, you might find exactly what you have been looking for. So, if you have traveled so far, but the lesson I got from life was that it was better not to go beyond the next corner, because what you can see there might be much worse than what you have seen by now. So that's the idea of non-travel. But then perhaps we should travel regardless, only in a different direction. It does not mean to travel in the direction that others expect us to travel, or that others choose for us. The road also leads to the area, to Skałki Twardowskiego, which the rocks, which which are the stability point. They have been there witnessing what's been going on for times immemorial. The eye of the horse is the eye of the horse in the painting by Jan Matejko. The Sukiennica Polish Art Gallery, 19th century. My aunt took me to the gallery, and this is the first time when I had this kind of insight that really inspired me into action. Because when I was working for the Wawel Royal Castle, I did have this first attachment, and not attachment, first anchoring, first trigger, so to say. There was a huge painting with a horse rider. The horse was black and had a corn, so to say, but this was not a corn in the sense of a unicorn. I don't know what it was, in fact. And I have not been able to identify the painting as yet, but it was very appealing to me. It was a very important historical figure, I think, or historic figure. I guess my classmate Anya Kostu knows. Um, but generally, it appealed very strongly to me, and I did feel that it was a communication that I was getting into some spiritual realm. But it was really that. I mean, at that point, I only prepared some vocabulary, so I did go into the area of fine art, but this was not the time for me to develop that yet. It really started with the Sukiennice Polish Art Gallery, and what happened when I was standing there in front of the painting, there was actually this connection. So it was like a sacred gate for me, gate to finer and refinement, and it connected with the question line in my overall art. So I will be drawing horses for sure. Or perhaps that could do. Sadly enough, I have not been able to develop as an artist because I have been being attacked and destroyed all the time. The candle. I don't remember exactly the occasion on which I took the picture of the candle, but it certainly has to do with some torture, some people dying in the wake of torture, or some other massacre that took place. Anyway, finally it was established as an opening of my appeal concerning wars in 6 languages. I have already said a few words about it. That this is in 6 languages because it is supposed to speak the language of the other sea, and it is about taking the effort actually. And the candle is black. It is black and white to convey the idea, and that is key to the noble queen of Agnipolitanian, namely fair is fair, foul is foul. It goes back to Macbeth and to the scene where the witches create confusion in the world, create chaos that results in murders and the disarrangement of history, so to say, by saying foul is fair, fair is foul as an incantation. So incantations are very dangerous. In Agnipolitania, we go back to fair is fair, foul is foul. What I was emphasizing in those speeches was the sacred in the war. So I was asking for not waging war in the oasis. My home was an oasis, but then I meant the public oasis, like hospitals, schools, places of worship, not worship, worship, like churches, temples. And so there was one thing. Another thing was had to do with the human that I did not mention, but came up later on in my mind, is about the human heritage. About not destroying it because we can never get it back, and this really is an important landmark for us as humans. Even if we were to change into a totally different religion, this is a stage in the development, and it only informs us about where we were and where we have traveled from that point. And then there's another point about the desecrating bodies, desecrating corpses. So as you might gather, I am against necrophilia. not to mention you connecting parts of body to my body, which is, you know, you might hate me, but apart from you hating me, you are desecrating the bodies. But obviously this is satanistic, so their purpose is to desecrate. You must be aware of it, but then you must pinpoint what's going on. Symbolism. We continue. There's the roles. The roles has to do with the experience I had as a secondary school pupil. I was deeply in love with my English teacher, and it was very difficult for me emotionally. One day I was sitting on the bank of the Victoria River crying, thinking of suicide. And this is the moment when I decided I would not commit suicide, actually. I mean, I decided sometime later because there was a man passing by and I just spotted him. And then he was coming back. And as he was coming back, he approached me and gave me a rose. He did not say a word. He went on. And this was this moment when I decided I would not commit suicide. So I decided I would be giving roses to people, and I have given many beautiful bouquets. But in 2009, the development of 2009, not to mention 2012, I have realized that there was no one giving bouquets to me, metaphorically, of course. So that, you know, the bouquets I had been giving had not been appreciated. So, you know, I had been doing all this work for my pupils and they had appreciated. And so I changed my life. Until then, one day, I got Agnipolitanian, and this is a rose I got, and by now it has developed into Agnipolitanian, which is a bouquet, really. The rose has nothing to do with Dior, unless there is some connection that has to do with the Romanists, because I believe the man was a Roman too, so perhaps, I don't know. But don't put me into the dark side of life, because I have nothing to do with it, honestly. The checkboard belonged to my dad. He died in 2001, and the checkboard is the check set actually is something that I inherited from him. This is a memory. It goes back to my childhood. He would play chess with me, and he did not tell me then, but I learned it afterwards that he had said I had been really good. What a pity he did not tell me, and he did not say it to me then. Anyway, the connection with my dad, I like to think of him in connection with the chess, because it symbolizes his mental stamina for me. He had gone through a stroke when he was still able to play chess, and win. But also the other stamina, the very stamina that led to him ever becoming my father, and namely he's going through two wartime prisons, the Soviet one and the Nazi one. And this is a hope for freedom, really, for my own freedom one day, that I will somehow manage to get out of the prison I'm in and somehow regain the life that has been so thoroughly devastated. The alien. The alien is result. I mean, this is me actually. I did my own photograph, and I kept on editing it until I arrived at a few pictures that looked like an alien. It was quite funny. He is quite lovely. He's a man again. He's quite funny, and he seems to be very, very helpful. He has assumed the human form to make it easier for me by the familiarity. This is in the tradition of the Contact movie. And what can I say? Well, on the whole, I believe that he is one of my protectors, and Agnipolitanian really is a new message for humanity. What is connected with the alien is the alien figure, and the alien figure has a different origin, and it is also the result of editing in the end. It's black and white, and there's this white figure that is part of the whole picture. And there's a book, the book presenting different planets and stars, and the sky open. I did not have any intention to open it there, so I opened it accidentally. I do it sometimes, and I get some messages thanks to it. And then apparently the editing added a dimension there, so you get the photograph as if there was something, like vertical apart from the plane. What can I say? Well, it that I got it in a set of little things from my brother, like little toys that he had in his preschool, and my mom brought them from the USA, and I thought that, well, they could be my helpers. I have not developed the life for them yet, only the alien figure. So I put it on the table, and he is a message, he's an extraterrestrial, not from my brother, but via my brother is a via from an extraterrestrial source. And it goes via my little round table. So, with this series of pictures that go to my little round table, he became the connection, not my brother, the alien of the table, and black and white. So, it probably has to do, why am I getting this and someone else is not? It has to do with the truth. I said it at one point. You have been twisting the truth about me and Alexandra Kitchen. And it is vitally important that you do not, because if you do, what you end up with is the situation when you are in where you are about having where you are almost at the point where you are there at the operating board, and you have the choice between 1 and 0, and 1 or 0 depending on the situation. Let's say it's 1, will trigger a chain reaction of nuclear explosions that will destroy the whole world, and the 0 will stop it. And because you have departed from the truth, and you have been making the untruth the truth, what you do in that moment of the final test is you choose the destruction of the world, thinking you have chosen its survival. So this is the point about black being black and white being black. It is about the truth that saves your life, and not only yours. The little round table itself originated in just a few days before the spring revolution started. I had a sense of urgency, but it is an idea, a concept that was developing. So first there was I bought some mugs, box with Van Gogh design. They connect with the album I got from my best friend at the university time. I wanted to become a theater director, and I did not have too much encouragement then, and she was the encouraging friend who wrote this dedication that no matter what whoever says, if I want to become the theater director, I will. This was very supportive. She wrote also that she wished I would never lose my belief in people. Perhaps my assessment of people has got real. All the same, the Van Gogh was carrying a lot of empowerment for me, and so I bought the Max. I mentioned it to my friend, another best friend at the time, in our Facebook chat, and I wanted to show her the pictures. So I thought of it. I thought that I could take pictures and post them on Facebook, but I did not have the camera then, so I depended on my neighbor, who had been my best friend earlier. At that time, I think there was there were too many words unsaid, of which I was not aware, which resulted in the crisis on that very occasion and our party. I have heard that her husband has accused me of something, has reported me somewhere. Probably he is an Assange. Anyway, they have moved out. And I had this idea which started developing in my mind. And in the end, there was the concept of a series of round tables with books on them or other things like them that would create a digital Stammtisch. It was to be egalitarian. It was to be there for people to come and add a bit of theirs, whatever it was to be, their thoughts, I don't know, the song they like, the wonderful day they have had, whatever. It was the general. That was the intention, the idea behind. There were a few. There were many. There were many themes, so to say, to make it appealing to all the people have had on my friend list then. So I included libertines even because one of my friends at the time, Facebook friends, was a libertine, and probably not only her, maybe there were more of them. The the idea grew up of three concepts that connected in my mind with the little round table. Obviously, the Polish round table talks, the Arthurian little round table, so you know, the knight with the King Arthur, the Middle Ages, and the table, which might not have been round, but was small, or perhaps was big, but certainly was a very important table, that Ram Dass put in front of Sarah, the little princess, when she had lost her father and found herself in a disastrous situation of being poor and abused by those who had power over her. And this is the origination of the little round table. What has changed is that it has become elite. So, I mean, actually, it's only me sitting at the table now. And it is a protocol communication. Finally, we arrive at the beyond the flaming ramparts of the heavens. It is a table from a monument of Nicholas Copernicus. Uh, it is in front of Collegium of the Jagiellonian University building. There's the psychology department there. I'm not sure if the history department there is. This is certainly the place where I was attending my classes in lectures in the contemporary history of Britain. That was the first year of my studies, and the result of them was my writing the argumentative paper that deals with the problem of conflict in the Northern Ireland. So it connects with my further development along the line of solving the problem of terrorism. Next to it, there's the Collegium Novum, where I met with the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Obviously, the times were different, and it was it is the event that constitutes the spiritual tissue of my life. The quote comes from, the phrase I gave you. The quote is, "He fared forth beyond the flaming rampart of the heavens, and traversed the boundless universe in thought and mind." It is from Lucretius. The Nicholas Copernicus is a symbol, not only in the sense of him making the truth known, arriving at the truth in the first place, making the truth known, but also surviving it. So there's the idea of surviving, no matter the established political order. Which leads us to preventing and counteracting incapacitation. I was incapacitated in March 2016. A sexual space was created around me. I was hit in my throat. I believe it must have destroyed some protection area I must have had before, because now they keep on putting routers in my mouth or in other parts of my body. They keep on doing all sorts of harm to my body, adding vibrations. These are sexual, disgusting situations. They are killing me simply. They are poisoning me, killing me. They have no other purpose but that. So they have deprived me of life. And this is incapacitation, not in legal terms, but in terms of making me incapable of living. So the incapacitation has not been prevented, but it's worthwhile to think how it can be prevented in the future. And generally, it is about counteracting assumptions. There are other aspects of the situation. That is the devastation of my life. Namely, the things that have been done to the noble kingdom of Agnipolitania. So apart from turning me into an invalid, Agnipolitania has been being destroyed. The woman, the prostitute, who posted her icon with a penis going into her mouth on a porn site, added my link of my presentation of the Agnipolitanian Academy, the beautiful presentation I made in January 2016. And this is a complete damage. I don't know what kind of, I mean, I feel like crying really, because I'm not crying, not because the situation does not evoke tears, but because I'm in control of myself. One day I will break down, and I don't want to think what's going to happen then, but I'm still surviving. I really don't know what kind of person it takes, but at least I know what kind of people I'm dealing with. So, alteration, invalidity, crime, war, other, these create incapacitations. And this is a whole area of work for the PR lab. It's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. I knew that this presentation is going to be huge. I have not covered mysticism yet. I have not covered the brand development. But I'm really very tired. So perhaps maybe I can have some coffee and see if I can. Well, no, I think I really need to take some longer break. Perhaps I should eat some dinner because it's 4 o'clock now. So thank you for your attention. I'll see what I can still post. I definitely need to complete my communication by the end of September and start a new life on the 1st of October. So that's all for now.